Welcome to the Youth Leader's Brain. We've got a topic here today about creativity. This is an interesting one because sometimes we think of creativity as something that's almost like a spiritual gift, when in reality I think it's a talent learned, maybe something that you kind of get better at. I've got a little something here that might help you with your creativity, and it's just kind of a starting point. There's a lot of different things out there on creativity. This, over the years, though, I have found to be very helpful to me. What we're going to deal with here, first of all, is what I'd like to call the box of creativity. And you're saying to yourself, I thought we were supposed to think outside of the box. No, we've actually got to define the box first before we're actually ready to think outside of it. So first of all, we've got this box here, and this is a pretty good, this box is what we've got to define 4 sides to this box before we'll be ready to even start with our task or our project. So the thing that we're working on is some kind of task, some kind of project, and sometimes, especially with youth leaders, this is an event that we've got to put together. So what are these 4 sides? What do I need to figure out before I'm even ready to start with creativity? First of all, you've got to figure out your purpose. If you don't know the purpose, you're not even ready to figure out anything else. What are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to do with this event or this project? And that purpose, the more clear that is, the better off for you. Next, you're going to define the people that we plan to use to make this event work. And so this is it could be a whole group of people, could only be one. After that, we've got to figure out our money and our resources that are there. It's kind of interesting. Most of the time we just think in terms of I just need this money, but actually resources are a pretty big area that you have to figure out what you can use. So even think of your building as a resource, and you've got to say, okay, what is it that I'm going to, what is it that I have that I'm able to use? And then lastly, all the elements of time that you need to figure out. Now, time is an interesting one because there's the time to prepare for it. There's the time that it's actually being done, the time to clean up from it. All those things all the time elements that need to be figured out, then you sit down. So it's just like with a legal pad. You're sitting down on a project, you're getting ready to brainstorm on something. You've got 4 things here you've got to figure out. What is our purpose? What are the people? What are the money and resources? And what is the time? Once you have those 4 things, now you're ready to actually look and say, okay, let's start being creative. Let's figure out what this is. I found over the years that if I don't define all these 4 things, the team that is now tasked with being creative, they can't do it. They kind of respond in one of 2 ways. First of all, let's imagine that their box is here, but there's only 3 sides of it that have been figured out. Some teams get real timid. They get real nervous. They're like, I don't know what to do. They don't step out and take some initiative or anything, and they create an event that's just really small. You're like, oh man, I thought that was going to be more. I thought we were going to do more than just that. But because I didn't define all the aspects, and whichever one of these is missing, especially if it's purpose or money and resources, you'll find this team heading a direction that they shouldn't go. Another way that this happens is sometimes a person gets maybe a couple sides of their box of creativity figured out, but when you don't define it all, kind of box it all in, suddenly that team is like, we could do this, and we could do this, and what about this, and we could go over here, and this would be great, imagine. And you come back after they've got a whole plan in mind, and they're spending about $100,000, and we need to hire 3 extra staff, and we're like, guys, we can't go that big. But this really is on me because I didn't define that box of creativity, and the team needs to know each one of these things. Now, the best part about all of this is that God is infinite. And if God is infinite, then even though I have this box, I know that I serve a God who can live outside of that box anytime that he chooses. He can give more, and that's possible. So let's just make this real practical. Let's imagine that pastor comes to you as a youth leader and says, hey, I want you to do a youth event once every 8 weeks. That's what I'm looking for from you. You're going to step back and be like, okay, I'd love to do that. Let's figure out our box of creativity once every 8 weeks. What should be the purpose of our events, and how much time do you want those to take, and who all can be involved in this, and how many volunteers can I use, and what would be my budget? And so this just becomes the things that you start asking your pastor to define all those things to help you know what those things are. Now, once you get all of that, let's imagine that I go to to another couple that's helping out, and we sit down and we're like, okay, here's what we've got. We're looking to do a youth activity that just really kind of gives our group some camaraderie. And so we sit here, and I'm not going to even try to spell that one. and I want them to just be a team after we're all done. And I want it to take from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. And I'm going to tell the actual time that it is. But I only want this to take us one day to prep for. And I think that we can charge the kids $10 and we could take $5 out of our youth budget. So we now have a total of $15, and the 4 of us are the ones that need to do this for the 12 that are in our youth group. And that now defines all of these things, so that now I'm ready to be creative. I need that box of creativity. When somebody says, wow, they thought outside of the box, what's really happening is that you had a box, and your creativity and the idea you came up with seemed almost like it was bigger than what the box defined. Creativity is something that you can do. The first thing that you've got to do, though, is define your box of creativity.